This is the fourth quarter update for the Amplify Transformational Data Sharing ETF, symbol BLOK. I'm speaking with Michael Venuto. Michael, there's a lot going on in the blockchain and crypto space. Let's start with what you're seeing today as we're recording in January of 2024.
Wow, I mean, it's been a lot of excitement. By the time this gets published, there's probably going to be a spot Bitcoin ETF or 30 of them. So that's definitely taken up a lot of the news cycle. It's interesting how excited everybody is about it, considering BLOK has had exposure to spot Bitcoin in Canada for almost 2 years, so we're a little ahead of the curve. But beyond that, I mean, there's been so many advancements in blockchain. We're seeing so many IPOs come back and offerings and a lot of transactions in the private market, as well as a lot more applications. We're also seeing in the world of blockchain in the last quarter a lot of discussion about where it connects or interconnects with AI, especially like using the same computing power or using it for optimization. And I've always believed if we're going to have benevolent generative AI in the future or general purpose AI, blockchain would have to be a very key component of that economy, right? Because you need the decentralization um, to make it actually work. So there's been a lot of amazing things going on. We've seen things in our portfolio, like one of our favorite blockchain stocks that we've talked about over the years, that we're pretty much the only ones that own it for blockchain. Used to be called Overstock. They have an amazing venture portfolio that we think could be worth 2 to 5 times what they market at, including like Grain Chain and things like that. So they've now called Beyond. They bought the Bed Bath and Beyond IP. Who would have saw that one coming? And now the profit is involved with the company. Marcus Lemonis is now chairman and very much involved. So there's been some amazing developments in blockchain in the fourth quarter of 2023.
Well, as an actively managed ETF, that provides you with some great opportunities to make real-time changes. So what changes did you see in the portfolio in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, we started the year in a more conservative standpoint. You got to remember, this year did not start out well for crypto, blockchain, regional banks, any of those things. And at the beginning of the year, we were, probably under 10% in the miners, which, as we've spoken about before, they're the most leveraged to the growth of the underlying commodities. In the fourth quarter, we were at our high end, right? 25% ish plus, right? We are a diversified fund, so we can't actively choose to go 25 above 25%. But there's appreciation. They've done extremely well, and um, that's probably been the biggest thing. Now, what is our changes? Trims, right? We've consistently taken profits when things have run up and diversified to more and more names. We added things like BlackRock. You can guess why. They seem to be going all in here, as well as more exposure to newer miners and more exposure to the emerging markets through Mercado Libre and things like that. But all in all, it's been managing around the amazing up spikes in the miners and taking profits and staying diversified. Um, very proud of how it ended in Q4. Uh, I know compliance has to take a look at this, but basically we're up around 98% while maintaining some amazing diversification in the fund. So very excited about how Q4 went for the portfolio.
So as you look at the probability of a spot Bitcoin ETF hitting the marketplace, how does that type of exposure contrast with what you provide with the BLOK ETF? And are they complementary?
Absolutely complementary, right? Like I've always looked at it as GDX versus GLD. Those are GDX is gold miners. GLD is physical gold, or stored in a vault in London. The Bitcoin spot ETFs will be like that. It's a portion of the exposure. BLOK, I think, is a little bit more advanced than the concept of GDX, though, right? So GDX has to own miners. That's it. we are never going to really own more than 25% miners, right? We're going to be diversified and be able to move with things and go through the capital structure. So there is absolutely a complementary role here. They're not 100% correlated. There's things that we can do that are different. And at the end of the day, Block is still equities, primarily equities, right? Or companies. We do have some spot Bitcoin exposure through the Canadians, um, but companies are different than a commodity, right? There are different things in how the cycle works, and there's different areas we can go explore, like AI or finance. So I do think that they're both great tools, and it's just a matter of what you're trying to achieve. So
Well, Michael, I've asked you this before during these updates, but I think it's worth diving into again, especially with the launch of Bitcoin ETFs. Where does this asset class fit in a diversified portfolio? How should investors and financial advisors think that through?
So, the easiest one is it's a thematic allocation to something that's changing the world, right? So, what does it replace? It's a complement to technology or replace technology in a portfolio. It's complement to financials, although we've absolutely blown financials out of the water. Um, so it's an enhancement to your equity exposure to something that's changing the world every single day. That's the primary use of it. There are people who use it as speculation to get exposure to this change. I manage the portfolio with Dan Weisskopf to be a long-term hold of this change in the world. This is one of those innovative themes that I think we've really honed in on and are providing amazing access to through deep dive research, through meeting with the managements, through talking with people like Saylor and Novogratz and Floss and all these guys. Yeah.
So, Michael, we've been producing these quarterly updates for several years now. And one thing that's remained consistent is your philosophy towards the space, whether Bitcoin was going through a winter or whether they were going through a period like we are experiencing right now, where there's a lot of good excitement right now behind the space. So, as we're recording this in January of 24, I'd love to wrap with what's your outlook for this space as we go through the rest of the year?
I love that everybody's so excited about the price movement that's going to be affecting the underlying commodity, right? Bitcoin essentially is the big one, from people being able to access it, right, through BlackRock or Hashdex or Wisdom Tree or Bitwise, or I mean, there's so many I don't even know how to list them all. Um, that's not what we care about, right? Like, we care about that there's more regulation that allows these things to actually be used for real applications, because that's what's going to create the real wealth value in the future. Number goes up, number also goes down. I never really have cared about that. I care about what Grain Chain is doing, or what SBI Holdings is doing to change how things are done, or even Dan and I argue about this. It's a very small position, but like even Walmart, they're all in on metaverse, on using this technology to change how they do things and stay real as a brick and mortar store. It's kind of crazy that we have a huge position in Overstock and a very tiny position in Walmart. You would think that's um, contradictory, but it's really how both ends of online versus brick and mortar are using this amazing technology to stay relevant.
Yep, that's right. Michael, thank you so much for taking the time for this fourth quarter update. Viewers, to learn more about the BLOK ETF, visit bloketf.com.